Hello and welcome back once again. We are continuing with painting up our Raptor from last time. It's probably going to be the final and second part of our series, so it shouldn't take us too long. And of course, we're going to jump right in. We're going to be starting out with probably one of the more difficult parts of this with our Balthazar Gold. It's going to be a lot of just detail work, mainly the chest, the Aquila. Hopefully it won't be too annoying, but we're going to take care of it first. That way it has plenty of time to dry and we can go back and fix up all of our mistakes. But just with a nice small brush, we're going to get right in here like we normally do. And if you really want, you could do silver with this as well. I just think it kind of gives more of a kind of matching vibe. Kind of matches more with the green, having it with our kind of brassy color here. At least if I was doing something like Cadians, which will probably be our next series. Spoilers. I would use this color scheme, so we're gonna keep with it. And actually, it's going on pretty well. We'll do one more really thin layer once we're done, but it is a lot cleaner than I kind of anticipated, so maybe it won't be such a pain. I think using these smaller brushes here definitely helps a lot. Before I was just kind of rushing it and using a little bit of a bigger brush, but also taking a little bit more time doing that kind of top, I don't know what you call that, the top of the wing there. Usually it's the most annoying part, but if you take your time, it is a little bit easier to do. And as always, just nice and thin layers. We'll get the skull here, bottom of the wing, and we'll go right back over. Because it's thin enough, it's pretty much dried already. And we'll just go and give it a nice second pass. Really bring out the kind of boldness in that brass. And I'm not using my paint handle today, kind of for two reasons. So it helps me kind of stay in frame a little bit. There's less of a like height disparity to deal with. So that's part of it. It's actually the majority of it. But also, I'm going to be doing Cadians next, and I'm doing a squad of 5. At some point, I'll do the other 5 in the squad, because they come in boxes of 10, obviously. But instead of switching back and forth between, putting each one on my paint handle and then taking them off and switching again, because I'm going to be doing batch painting and just doing like all of one color and then switching to another model, doing all of the same color. And that's going to get kind of tedious if I'm switching back and forth between the paint handle every 5 seconds. So this is kind of getting me ready for that. It does kind of cramp my hands a little bit, unfortunately. I know it's kind of like first world problems, but it is. It's not very comfortable holding a model. I got to be honest. You're doing like this weird claw maneuver, at least in my case, and it's not the best. But we are making some steady progress here. We'll do one more little pass over on the skull. It's just not looking completely finished. And then we'll switch on to our next color, which I think we're going to do silver next. It's either between that or a little bit of... actually, you know what? We need a tiny bit more brass. I just realized that the gun has a eagle, or not an eagle, the skull logo on it as well. And we'll take care of that real quick. Nothing too crazy. It's on the inside as well, so we don't really need to pay too much attention to it. If I can even get it. Sorry, weird angles. I'd like to keep things in focus while making them easy to paint for myself, but sometimes it's a little bit of a hassle. And there's not one on the other side, so we can go ahead and move on to our next color, which is definitely going to be silver. As always, I like to use lead belcher because I'm basic and lead belcher just works. And of course, we'll get a nice little shake to start things off, just because there's been a few moments in time have passed since I last used it, so the pigment tends to separate a little bit. Giving it that nice little shake does kind of remix it all up for us. I noticed that Citadel paints don't really separate as badly as like Vallejo does. I know, and it's a little bit more like because I use them at like different intervals of time. My Citadel paints I touch pretty regularly. I use them for pretty much every project I do. My Vallejo stuff, not so much. But I like to have they're called vortex mixers, and you can use them for both. They fit pretty much every type of paint pot I've seen, whether they're like the dropper bottles or the regular, like CW, wow, Citadel, GW stuff. But they do mix your paint a lot quicker. It's not really a big issue with GW paints. I don't think they really get too separated, but Vallejo really likes to split up, and you have to shake them a lot more. So Vortex is definitely something to look at. You can get them really cheap on Amazon. They're like, I don't know, I think I got mine for like $20, and it's lasted me for quite a while. So if you don't like shaking your paint pots manually, definitely look into that. Highly recommend it. And as we kind of move around here, we're going to be switching between some spots, just kind of doing whatever works best angle-wise before we start getting into some wacky ones for us. We're going to be doing our bolter here. As always, we're going to be doing a nice black bolter, kind of mixes with the kind of like survivalist theme that this guy has. I would do it kind of like a camo, but honestly, this guy's green enough. I don't want to really make it any worse looking. I like the green a lot, but you can have too much of it, and that's a very easy problem to run into with Space Marines, especially considering they're a majority one color. Now, if it's something like Cadians and you have like two primary colors, you can kind of get away with reusing one of them. And we will get the barrel here. I don't know what the little barrel on top is, that little nub. I want to assume it's like an exhaust thing, but honestly, I do not know. I've always kind of questioned what it was, but I've never really looked into it. So maybe some point I'll do that. I also don't drill my barrels. So far, no one's yelled at me for that, which is great. But I'm sure some point someone will. I don't really see the problem with it, or the need to do it, rather. Not so much the problem. I don't know. I don't think it's that focal of a point. And messing up when you're drilling a barrel can probably make things look way worse than it would without it. So I really don't want to run that risk unnecessarily. Of course, if enough people start yelling at me about it, maybe that'll change my mind. But for now, I don't drill barrels. I think it's just unnecessary. It does look good if you do it right. I won't deny that. But it's not the way GW intended it, right? They send them out like this for a reason, so we'll leave it as is. It would be nice if they molded them without with a hole automatically drilled. That'd be cool. Maybe one day, while GW is sitting on their mountains of money. I can't talk today, unfortunately, but we'll work around it. But maybe one day they'll update their molds just to make the work a little bit easier for us. I know some people are really against like monopose stuff, and they like the kind of more kit bashy thing, which I do too, don't get me wrong. But man, some of their like push fit models, I want more. I love push fit. It saves a lot of hassle. I feel like the sprue lines and like the mold lines are a little bit better with push fit as well. Just in my kind of personal opinion, I kind of wish they do more of those. But I know some people are really against that, and monopose is like bad, but that's just my opinion. And we're going to do the handle of this little pistol here because I don't want it to match with the holster when we do that. But our bolter itself, we're going to make like a brown handle on just to kind of change it up a little bit. And I think that's kind of, if I don't drop my guy here, that's kind of all the silver we need right now. We might come back and do some stuff where we have to go in and fix some things, but overall I think that's pretty solid. Actually, we'll do the inside of the gun stock as well. I almost missed that. I managed to get the inside of the magazine and everything, just not the gun stock itself. And we'll go right back over that one more time just to make sure it's squared away. I'll be a little bit careful. I don't want to get any on the leg. I don't know if you can even see that, but I just want to make sure it's covered. The more important bit really is that handle there. It's more obvious and it's kind of less tucked away, so we'll focus on that. And that does bring us a nice little segue into our third color. Again, another base coat, nothing crazy. This is Dryad Bark. Again, if you watch my other videos, you know I use this one a lot. It's very, very robust. It's got a lot of uses. You can do leather, you can do like cloaks, fur, all of that. Very nice paint. I like it a lot. And we're going to be using it pretty sparingly today. I want to do this holster. I want to do the handles. And depending on how it looks, I might do like a little belt line. We'll see. We will definitely see. I also want to do the handle for this this knife here. Just real quickly go over that. I don't want to get any on the hands because then we have to go back and clean it up. So we'll do our best here. Make sure we get the top and the inside of that as well. You got to do some weird angles though, unfortunately. And I feel like I just got it all over the hand, but we'll see in just a second. And get the back as well. Spinning this thing around like crazy. I'm sorry it's not like 100% good viewing, but it just makes it easier for me if I'm not doing weird brush strokes here. I try my best. I definitely try my best. Sometimes it's unavoidable. We also want to get this little holster. You can't really tell with the black undercoat. It does make this very dark, but in contrast to the kind of lighter green, it is very evident. If you can also get yourself on, get your hands on some, I think, Rhinox hide. It's kind of a good highlight color. I unfortunately just don't have any yet. I just bought a ton of paint and I totally blanked out on that one. I did mean to get it though, but it's fine. I'll get that in my next kind of batch delivery I do, whenever that may be. I'm kind of running out of paints to get, actually. GW's base paints are pretty extensive. There's a lot of them. I've gotten quite a few. I've got a big box just full of them, and it's a good thing. I do really like the GW line. I think they're great. I don't like the paint pots as much. They do kind of cause a few problems here and there, but man, I don't know. Something about the paint itself is just really addictive for me to collect. And we also want to get this little handle here. And the back as well. We'll also switch it around just a second and we'll get the other side. And then we also want to go over this bolter with another layer of black just to make things look much nicer. It's kind of janky looking, I guess, is the proper term for it. So we will go back over that real quickly, just one last time. And then we'll do a little bit of a wash if we have time for it. Again, I don't want to make like a third part to this series, so we'll kind of keep things wrapped up real quick, but that's something we kind of want to aim for. We'll at least start with it, just to kind of show you what we're going to do. Before we do the black, though, we do have one more annoying thing to do. Corn red. And as a Space Marine, you know where this is going to go. We're doing the eyes. This is either going to go great or it's going to go horrible. There's no in between. I've been pretty 50-50 with them so far, and I'm trying my best to make sure I can get this really nice and in view for you guys, but also I'm trying to be able to see it myself. It's not horrible. It's not the best, but it's not the worst either. I'll take it. This is going to be the awkward one. We've kind of got that bolter in the way. But going around that a little bit, you can really see how bad my hands shake when I do this. There we go. That's pretty good. It's not going to get you to parade ready, but, you know, it's good enough for what we're doing. And now we can move on to our, should be our last base coat. This is going to be right around to our Abaddon Black, which if you watch the first part, you'll know this is what we did all the undercoat with. And this should just be to finish up kind of that bolter. And I don't really think there's anything else we need to do with it. Maybe we'll do a quick once over on some of those like armor joints. But honestly, we're almost done here. And we have just been powering through with this, which I'm very grateful for. This is something I did not want to spend too much time on. I just want to kind of knock it out. That way we can get on to other projects. Not that I didn't enjoy this. I always enjoy painting Space Marines, and I like Raptors. I like their lore. As little of it as I know, they are pretty cool. But I didn't want to spend, like a week doing just more Space Marines. And of course, I mentioned this last time I think, but I'll just reiterate it for people who haven't seen the last video. I think next up is going to be Cadians. Actually, it's not even I think, it's definitely going to be Cadians. I just finished assembling and priming their first squad today. I also have some Tau I want to paint. I don't know if I'm going to do another Space Marine kind of paint job before I get to that. Maybe, just to kind of split things up a little bit. But overall, if you guys have any ideas, if you have anything you want to see me paint, please leave it in the comments. I always love feedback, and I love kind of people requesting things. It makes things more interesting. Because right now I'm just painting everything that I want to paint. And, that's as fun as it is for me. I'd rather, I paint what you guys want me to, if that makes sense. But regardless, until that point, we'll just keep powering through. As always, we are doing a little bit more finishing work on this bolter, and then we'll move on to our wash, which I've kind of been debating. I think we're going to go with the egg racks. We could do non-oil if we really wanted to, if we didn't have any egg racks, but since I do, I think that'll kind of give us a better look at the end of this. And this black really just does not want to go on this top of this bolter. There we go. Sometimes you do have to use thicker layers. It's kind of unavoidable. I don't recommend it often, but when your paint really just doesn't want to stick for some reason, just use thicker layers. Don't do it too much though, otherwise your model will start to suffer for it. But just here and there, just tiny little amounts is fine. And we want to make sure we get all the way around these little fingers here. I just don't want to get the fingers themselves. Perfect. All right, that's pretty much it for that. Actually, I take that back. I missed one little bit of brown. I am actually the worst. I didn't realize his holster had a little pouch in front of it. So we're gonna fix that real quick, and then we will do our wash. I promise this is gonna be our second to last step. Just very quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I don't know if you can even actually see it too well, but this little pouch right in front of his pistol. We just want to get the front, the side, and maybe the top if we can reach it. Nothing too crazy. And we'll even do a little bit more cleanup on that holster itself. Just make sure it has a solid layer on kind of the biggest face that we're seeing. Don't really want it to look too messy. There we are. Now we're moving on to our final. This is going to be all Nern. Actually, no, it's not even non-oil, which was what I was attempting to say there. This is Agrax Earthshade. This is kind of better for your like warmer colors. Non-oil works as well, but it's a little bit more kind of, I find it's a little bit better for more like silvery or gold colors, kind of more machinery. I think it just adds like a little bit more like greasiness, in my opinion, in a good way, obviously. But I feel like Agrax is a little bit better for just the more casual colors, non-metallics as it was. We actually want to do quite a little bit on here. Give it the illusion that we went back with black and colored this in. And because it's such a thin paint, because that's really all it is, right? It's just super thin down, like base layers, basically. It does kind of go right into those little recesses for us and falls right in. We also want to go through all these little recesses back here, these little cracks in the legs, and just kind of gently fill them in. Again, the full shakiness of my hands is on display. Please ignore that. I promise it's really not that bad. It just acts up sometimes. I don't know what it is. I haven't even had any caffeine yet, really. Those of you who may or may not know, I work night shift, so I'm awake like all hours of the night. So I end up like drinking energy drinks at like 3 a.m., which probably isn't healthy. But for me, it's like the middle of the afternoon during that time, right? So it's still sort of normal. Not really, kind of, sort of. I don't know. That's how I excuse it, at least. But usually that's what attributes to it. But I haven't had my caffeine yet. It's only like, I don't know, midnight, and haven't got around to my caffeine. Not quite yet. But that'll definitely be giving me the jitters later, so I can blame that on that at least. Probably when I'll be painting my Cadians, unfortunately, I'm going to be super shaky. More so than I am now. And we just want to come back around. There's not too many spots we can really do this. Just all these little kind of breaks in the armor. But I do want to get the front here. I want to get that little back recess as well. I don't know if you can see that, but this middle portion of his torso has a bunch of these little lines. I want to make sure that we get into all of those little recesses as well as we can. And lastly, we'll even make sure we get into his helmet a little bit. Make sure we don't have too much on our brush there, just to kind of really highlight the little folds and recesses all around his helmet. And we'll get the back as well. Fortunately, there needs to be a little bit more green back here. It didn't quite get that very back of his helmet, but I feel like we can just make it dark enough that it'll look more natural just by adding this little bit of wash. And we'll even get in between the fingers as well, just to kind of highlight those recesses. And I think that's pretty much as close as we're going to get to a finished product. Again, this isn't going to be your parade ready, perfect looking guy. This is just going to get you to base ready, battle ready. If you're building like a full army of these dudes and you're trying to knock them out pretty quick, there you go. This has taken us 2 episodes, so it's like 40 minutes, give or take. And that'll get you there. It's not too bad, honestly. As always, I want to thank you guys very much for watching. Of course, if you want to see more like this, feel free to check out the rest of my channel. There is a ton of other videos. I think we're up to almost like 50 now, so definitely recommend looking at some of those. Otherwise, I also have a Patreon. Link is in the description. If you want to help out this channel and see more videos more often, feel free to take a look at that. And as always, I just cannot thank you guys enough for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next episode.